Okay, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA. Today with Sean Gauci, professional MMA fighter who's fought professional for 10 years. Current record of 10-1 as a pro. How are you, brother?
Going good, man. It's good to be on here.
Man, I listened to a few things and I was wondering to myself when I was looking across your record, like only 11 fights in 10 years is pretty low level, but then looking at a few things you've handled, I mean, we had COVID during that period was a big one for everyone, and then also looking at you had an autoimmune condition, right? That really put a stop to things for a while as well, yeah?
Yeah, I'm obviously I should probably have like 30 fights by now, but yeah, I got into it a bit young as well. Like my first fight was when I was 17, so
Yeah.
it was actually meant to be an amateur fight, but on the day up we found out that it was pro rules. It was like a modified pro fight, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had my first pro fight at 17 if I had have known. I probably would have waited till I was about 21. So yeah, it says I've been in there for 10 years, but I've taken a little bit of time between fights just to catch up to that level. Because my first fight I was a white belt, one stripe, so I needed to catch up. It's not like I started as a black belt, you know. So yeah, and then obviously the ulcerative colitis, which hit me pretty hard at the end of 2019, and it took me out for 3 years. So that's a huge chunk of time that got taken away from me because of the illness. But yeah, look, I'm fully recovered now, in remission, and I obviously I just broke my hand in my last fight, but I just had surgery on that. That'll be 9 weeks till the bone heals, and then I want to go again, man. Hopefully February or March, whenever there's another opportunity.
Yeah, man, you broke your hand. I was thinking to myself of Dan Hook. It's just a scratch, right? Like you fought on through that fight and did pretty well, bro. In that, so to mention anyone listening, just off the October 8th Dana White Contender Series fight, you fought against Anthony Drillich. In the prelude interviews before the fight, you were saying how you guys kind of match each other in some areas. You kind of did match each other in some ways because it was a decision win. Both landed some things. You did pretty well. Probably, I would say, from what I saw or from what I remember, wrestling kind of got you the win. You wrestled a bit better than Anthony would have, but you fought with a broken hand. That's a difficult one, right?
Yeah, look, I think my opinion of the fight, the first round he won for sure, just off of volume. I don't know how they score these significant strikes, but it seems that the people who are scoring those significant strikes don't really know anything about boxing, because my guard, and I'm not saying this to be a dick or anything. He didn't really touch me, to be honest.
Yeah.
He was jabbing my guard, yes, and hitting maybe the side of my guard or maybe like the side of my head, but nothing he threw really hurt me at all. And I definitely think he won the first round just based off of volume, because I pretty much gave him. I didn't do anything, which was a bit of a mistake of mine. I needed to wake up. And in the second round, I started to find my rhythm. And I don't know, I've watched it a couple of times back without the commentary, with the commentary, and I think round 2 and 3 were pretty clear in favour of me. And yeah, it was the wrestling, a little bit of the wrestling, but I think more so the bigger shots were landed by me, and they actually were doing. I could see it on his face and in his body. I was doing damage. But obviously, yeah, about 2 minutes into that second round, I went for a kind of a shitty body shot, a right hook body shot. I don't really usually throw. I don't know why I did it, but I threw it, and he defended really well by slouching down, and his elbow had good connection with his hip, and I hit right on the point of his elbow and his hip, and I remember we kind of clinched afterwards, and I was like, yeah, just thought to myself, what the F just happened to my hand, because I literally felt it like explode, you know. So just thereafter, I yeah, what can you do? You're in the middle of a fight. I'm in front of Dana White. I'm not going to just go, all right, guys, I can't fight anymore. My hand's cooked. I'm out. So I knew I still had a job to do, and I remember I went to the corner in between rounds 2 and 3, and just the type of person I am, I know if I voice it and say, hey guys, my hand's broken, maybe one of my cornermen freaks out, and then I'm going to start freaking out. So I remember I was in quite a bit of pain, and I was trying to just like keep my breathing under control and keep reminding myself it's just 5 more minutes, and I've got a lot of other tools. And started using my elbows and a bit more wrestling, and still threw the right hand in the last round, but just didn't have the force behind it that I needed to put Anthony away. And he's a tough guy too. He's got a big head on him for a flyweight. and he's got a hard head. I can tell you that much for free. And yeah, couldn't put him away. But I honestly feel like if I didn't break my hand, I would have finished him.
Yeah, man, it must kind of suck. Like, you guys are both seasoned fighters. Your performance in the past have been very good, both of you. And then to get there and have a good fight, not a notably amazing fight, but a good fight, it would have been really nice to see one of you get through. Also, given that you've beaten Steven Erceg before, that's a little extra feather in your cap too for the UFC, right?
Yeah, look, that's just the Dana White Contender Series format, unfortunately.
Yeah,
You see, like it really depends on who you get. It was a bit of an odd matchup, I guess. Two guys, and I still give Anthony credit. I think he's UFC ready, and I think he could beat a lot of the guys in the UFC flyweight division. He's probably the most dangerous guy I've fought, and I fought Steve Erceg. So I'd say it's unfortunate matchmaking. If they really wanted one of us to get through, they could have given us a guy that was maybe 6-1 or 6-2, like some of these other guys got on the
yeah,
same card as me.
yeah,
And then a bit of a mismatch, and you get a knockout. Dana doesn't really favour the decisions. He wants you to get a knockout. So yeah, it depends who you get. Two
yeah,
high-level guys. If that was on a UFC prelim card, I don't think anyone would be unhappy with the performance. It's not like it was just I held him down and that's it and didn't throw anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we were going for it, and the takedowns were there. He was going for it too. It's just not like it. We're both very technical in the way that it wasn't just like a slugfest, more of a
Yeah,
technical boxing fight.
exactly. And how was it as an overall experience, having fought in a few different organisations, to go and fight in a UFC related top tier sort of promotion? How did it feel?
Felt good, man. I just honestly, the main thing for me was it made me realize that I deserved to be there, and it actually gave me a shitload of confidence just from the whole experience itself. I think I needed to fight someone like Anthony because
Yeah,
I guess lately, because of the political stuff on the Australian MMA scene, it's hard to get certain matchups going. I would have liked to fought Anthony on the Aussie scene, but it was just a bit complicated
yeah,
with a few things that happened. So now that I have that experience against a really solid top level opponent, I can now have faith in my abilities that I can take that even further. And yeah, obviously the organization it's run very well. No complaints there, but it's just like it literally is just a bigger version of the regional fights. It's nothing spectacular. It's the same. Your hotel gets paid for only for a couple of days. You don't get any extra things. It's very kind of cutthroat still, but I enjoyed it.
Do you look forward to that sort of travel, man, to get to move around and be in new countries and whatnot?
Yeah. It was pretty heavy going to America and dealing with the time change. I think I said when I was backstage with my team, I like to sweat like before the fight. Like I like to break a sweat and get a good warm up in because it just makes me feel like I get the nervous jitters out and that first kind of round adrenaline dump out. But I
Yeah,
couldn't sweat. I had like a cold sweat backstage, and
yeah,
it was like my body was like ready for me to go to bed. So I was very tired. And I think the first round, I just needed to wake up a little bit and wear a few punches to get me going. And yeah, so that was a learning experience. And I'll definitely learn from that. And I'll try and implement some other things next time I travel to help prevent that. Yeah.
yeah. All in experience, man.
Yeah.
So history in gyms, man. I heard you mention dominance. MMA was where you were raised, but now you're at Ignite. Is that correct?
Yeah. I still represent dominance and Ignite at the same time.
Mm.
Like, because I live on the Sunshine Coast now, but I still travel to Melbourne quite a lot, and
Yeah.
obviously that's my home team. I'm not one of those guys that like will leave a gym and then never kind of talk about them ever again. They raised me as a fighter, and to be honest, I'll always give them credit where credit is due because I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the coaching staff and the people at Dominance. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You mentioned having like a world champ wrestling coach, but you mentioned Sam Greco, and I'm a big fan of Sam's, man. He's my generation, so I really grew up like watching him as a K1 fighter, man. He's amazing. Can you talk about how it was training with him and what sort of style he is as a coach?
when I first went to Sammy, like I've always had good skills, but the reason I went to Sam was just to make me a bit more mean, and he's a perfect guy for that. That the way he trains you is very just, I guess, only way to put it is brutal, and yeah, he pushes you to your limits, and he'll find the little buttons to press that need to be pressed so that you can go out there and fight and be aggressive, be mean, and get finishes. So that's the reason I originally went to Sam, and then I also got the benefit of learning so much from him technically as well. You know, I actually do attribute some of my performance against Drillich and how well I did against a southpaw because Sam taught me a lot about fighting a southpaw. And yeah, I can't speak highly enough of his coaching, especially from a technical and mindset perspective. I've got so much from learning from him. As you'd imagine, he's just a beast. Yeah.
Yeah, man. One video, like I had videos back in the day of Sam. I've still got them at home somewhere. And there's one particular knockout that I watched a million times. It was against a guy called Simon Sweet from New Zealand. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I don't think so.
It's like a Superman punch. I'll
Superman?
send you a link later,
Superman,
man.
yeah, Superman
It's kind of
punch, yeah,
fake,
yeah, yeah.
boom, just knocked the guy out. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I don't know how these heavyweight guys fight each other because, like, when I look at Sam, I'm like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight you. Yeah, I'm happy to fight anyone that's like below that 6'5".
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, I'm good.
Bro, I got a set of questions for you. We'll see how many we can get through on the time. Mental preparation. Can you describe your mental preparation routine before a fight and how it affects your performance?
My mental preparation. So this camp, I did a lot of mental work with my original MMA coach from Dominance. His name is Trail Dowie, but he's also a psychiatrist. And we just went through a lot of visualization techniques. Because of the format of the Contender Series, you walk out and there's no walkout music, there's no introduction, and you can essentially hear the broadcast right there talking, and you can see Dana White. So it's a bit of a shock to the system, especially because I've grown up watching MMA. I see Bisping on the TV, I see Dana White on the TV. So seeing them in person, it hits you. So we just like I would lay down. It was kind of almost like hypnosis, I guess, and he would like talk me through the situation from warming up, from the walk through the apex into the cage, and then beginning the fight. And for me, we just used a couple of cue words whenever I felt like my mind was racing. Simple thing I'd say to myself was pull the reins in. Pulling the reins in, which means just like reset and refocus. And then when I was in the cage staring at Anthony or, whoever it was going to be, just stay sharp, stay sharp, stay sharp. That's all I was saying to myself. And I feel like those cue words just bring you back to reality because you can let your mind get the better of you. And I was at certain times, like especially just before I was about to open the doors to walk out, everything in your mind is telling you, why are you doing this right now? Why? And then you've got to remind yourself to bring yourself back to reality. Yeah.
How funny is it, man? Like I only fought at an amateur level when I'm young, but still, I remember I told people this before, but looking out the window of a Lee's club I was about to fight at, looking across this oval, was thinking to myself, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A funny thing. It's a funny
you
thing.
almost look at other people and you're jealous of that they can just go through the day and they don't have anything to worry about. And you got a cage fight. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
But there's always a reason.
Crazy, man. Hey, motivation, man. What drives you to compete at the highest level of MMA and stay motivated?
Drives me to compete. I'm not really sure. That's something that I've been trying to figure out for a long time. I don't come from a bad family. I don't come from a rough childhood. But I've always been ultra competitive. Just like being in my instinct for forever. So I think I just love competition. I love pushing myself to limits, and it's probably gonna sound weird, but I love also watching other people break when you push them to their limits. I don't know. It gives I don't know. It gives you some weird second wind or boost. So for me, it's just competition. I love the one-on-one aspects. I used to play AFL rules football. and I had that team. Like the team is fun, but when it's one on one, it's the purest form of competition, especially a fight. Like whoever's prepared the best, whoever's actually better, is going to win. Like 90% of the time, unless an
Yeah.
injury happens. So you don't have to rely on anyone else. So for me, it's just the competition aspect.
Yeah, there's no hiding in any type of combat sport activity because it's all you. There's no hiding behind another person or resting in the corner, right? It's a difficult thing.
Yeah. You can't sit on the bench and then win and then celebrate. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Man, post-fight reflections after a fight, win or lose, what processes do you go through about like thinking about the fight or self-reflection?
This one was different because I spent more time in America afterwards, and I got engaged to my partner, and which was an awesome experience, and like obviously the best thing that's happened to me. But on the flight home, it hit me pretty hard that, like, I'm not a UFC fighter, because I was envisioning flying home as a UFC fighter. So that was difficult, actually. But for me, I always get my journal out, and if I'm feeling that low, I'll journal, and I'll
Yep.
put my thoughts to and pen to paper. And I don't know, something about that, just, I might write something pretty cringeworthy or ridiculous, but something about putting your thoughts on paper just really, it's almost like you just get it off your chest. There's a huge weight lifted off your chest, and then I can start getting my mind from that negative, mind frame into a positive mindset. And for me, I was about, I don't know, 8 hours into my travel back home, and I just pulled out the journal. I started, writing away, and I felt a lot better after about half an hour of just getting my thoughts out there.
Nice, man. You're not a Sean O'Malley fan, are you? He journals a bit.
Yeah. I know a lot of fighters that utilize that. Sean O'Malley, obviously, Ilya Taporia. I'm sure a lot of other guys do it too. But
Yeah.
that's it for me. That's what I've done for, just mentally for a long
Yep.
time. Yeah.
Man, your training regime, just walk me through a typical day in your training camp, I guess, fight training camp.
Yeah. So lately, I've been a lot more mature about my training. I just train like an absolute idiot, and then get sick, get injured. And like you can see in my career, I've had a lot of injuries, I've had a lot of illness. So for me at the moment, it totally depends on how I wake up. If I wake up and I'm feeling like shit, my HRV is really low, my resting heart rate's really high, I'll only do a single session, and I'll do a technical session, and that's all about skill building. But if I wake up and all my metrics are normal, a normal day for me is a session in the morning. I'll work as well, come back from work, and I'll head to training at night time. And I'll usually do a more technical session at night, just because I don't want to rev my body up too high before I
Yep.
sleep, because I also have some issues sleeping if I train too close. So that's it for me. I just a lot more mature than I was back in the day. For me, it was wake up in the morning, go for a 10K run, go do jiu-jitsu class at 12, then go do boxing at 6, and sparring after that. It'd be ridiculous, and there'd be no kind of structure to it. But now I'm a lot more structured, a lot more professional.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. Hey, just popped into my head. I was going to ask you, the ulcerative colitis. You mentioned
Mhm.
GSP had it. Is that what Gordon Ryan had as well, or is that something different?
Now, Gordon Ryan had gastroparesis, I think it's called,
Ah, okay,
which is
okay.
something different. That's when your stomach dumps the food into the intestine slower than it,
Mm.
it should.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, mine's like my immune system thinks that my intestine is a foreign body, so it'll
Oh,
start
shit.
randomly. It'll just start attacking my intestine, and
Mm.
then yeah.
Yeah. Man, and talking about that injury management, obviously MMA is brutal on the body. How do you approach injury prevention and recovery? You mentioned the first part. If you feel like shit, you don't train as hard. That's one
Yeah.
important thing. Anything else?
Um, for me, what do I do? I do some sauna and ice bath every now and then. I probably need to do it more if
Yep.
I'm being realistic. I think the best setup as an athlete that works full time as well is probably to have all that stuff at your house. Because for me, if I get home from training, work, and so on and so forth, it's hard for me to get up and go to a recovery place 20,
Yep.
30 minutes away, to be honest. So I would definitely
Yep.
utilize that stuff if I had it at the house. One day I will.
Yeah.
But for me, the most important thing is sleep. If you don't nail your sleep, you're going to have a shit time, especially being an athlete. If you need 9 to 10 hours of sleep, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's why I'm struggling so much with this puppy at the moment. Not getting any sleep, but that's all right. That's my advice to any other athletes out there. Nail your sleep first. That's like the most important part of training.
Yeah, man. And future plans outside of fighting, bro? What are your aspirations outside of the cage?
I'm a fully qualified chiropractor. So once I finish my fight career, I will probably look to open up a health clinic that specializes in, chiropractic, osteo, physiotherapy, have them all work together and just create a place that people can choose what kind of health, allied health format they want. That's the main thing.
So you move from breaking bones to cracking bones, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully
exactly.
not
I'll
breaking
break you,
bones
then
to
I'll fix
breaking
you.
bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Bro, a couple of different ones, man. You don't strike me as a big street fighter, but what would be your go-to street fighting move, brother?
Run away from a street fight.
Run away?
What would I do? I'd probably, I don't know, act all chill and then bang, throw a big right hand. That's my move.
Bro, what are your thoughts on CTE and brain damage in MMA, combat sports? Is it worth it to be in such a dangerous sport?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So you could have something wrong with you to want to do it, to be honest. Because it's definitely real, and I'm definitely something I take very seriously. So I don't if I don't have a fight coming up, I'm not sparring hard. I don't give a shit if someone thinks I have to or if the coach wants me to. My coach Ryan, he's super smart. He wouldn't ever put me in that position, but I'm not sparring hard if I'm not in camp. If I need to help a fellow teammate, I'll do it, of course, but I'm not doing it twice a week randomly with no fight coming up. As soon as it hits 8 weeks and I have my fight in 8 weeks, I'll do twice a week sparring, and we'll gradually build up the tempo to where I get my timing down. Once I get that timing, we don't spar hard anymore. Whereas, when I was younger, I would just meet up with the boys and would box for 12 rounds in the front yard, and it would be full on getting rocked, and not doing that anymore.
Yeah, man, it's good to see that everyone's moved onward and upward with that thinking, and just considering their brain health, as much as you can being a fighter,
Yeah, exactly, man. And I truly do believe there's also outside things that you can do. From what I see, a lot of athletes can get pretty into like the drugs and alcohol side of things as well, especially if they're struggling with mental health, which a lot of MMA athletes do struggle with mental health problems. That's why we do it, probably. So I think that also contributes to brain injuries and brain health. So if you're going and sparring and doing that, and then also on the weekends getting lit up with the boys, I don't think that is beneficial for your brain. So I think if you can avoid that and avoid the hard sparring 365 days a year, you'll have a much better chance of you're going to get CTE. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like if you are in the sport for 10 years, like I have been, I'm sure I have some remnants of brain damage. I'm 100% sure, but I don't think there's definitely a spectrum. You know what I mean? Like the same with footballers who have 5 or 6 concussions. It's the same as that. So just got to look after your health, just like anything else.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. Like I talk to a lot of fighters up in the hundreds now, I think. And some people are affected more than others. I think it's 2 things. I think it's one, what you're mentioning about how you manage your sparring leading up to fights, out of fight time, out of fight camp and that. And second, like you've got a natural propensity or don't have a natural propensity for getting hit. Some people get damaged worse by getting hit than other people, So I think 2 things to be careful of, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Bro,
100%. A lot of people are predisposed to that gene, yeah.
Yeah, bro. Sorry, man. One last question. If you had to fight a bear or a lion or a gorilla, which one would you choose and what would your strategy be?
Bear, lion, gorilla. Shit. I'm pretty small, bro. I think I'd be fucked either way. I'd probably go a bear. A bear. A bear. I think if you'd have a good chance of playing dead, and maybe they would chill out. That'd be my tactic. You have no chance against any of them. Doesn't matter how much martial arts you do, but yeah, a line, you're done. I mean, probably actually, you know what? You're done either way. So probably a line, because I think they would just go for the jugular and you'd fall asleep and it'd be like getting choked out. It wouldn't be that bad. A bear would probably eat you whilst you're alive, and a gorilla would tear your arms off your body. So I'd probably go for a lion, actually, and just accept it.
Interesting, bro. At least you don't have any illusions that you're actually about to take it.
Nah, man. No, I'm not
Yeah.
that stupid.
Yeah, bro. All right, man. So just a quick note on to end, man. What's your aspirations for this year and going forward?
This year, my aspiration is to heal my hand back to 100% and stay fit. So for me, I've chunked up before before I've gone up into the 70s as a flyweight, and it's not ideal. So for me right now, I'm sitting at 65. So if I can keep my weight low and my weight in that region, then I can take a short notice fight as soon as I'm healthy again. Let's say the UFC comes to Sydney, and Steve's opponent pulls out, or Steve pulls out. I'm just giving an example. Maybe I could step in, you know. So for me, just stay ready, and then next year get into the UFC, and hopefully by the end of 2025, break into the top 15 of the UFC. That's my goal.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. Looking forward to seeing your success, bro. I really hope you get into the UFC and you can represent us over there. Yeah, bro. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it, and yeah, looking forward to following your career. Cheers.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.